Divorce happens. In fact, it happens to almost 50% of first marriages. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Divorce Happens, a podcast to educate, inspire, support, and yes, make you laugh through divorce and beyond so that you can start fresh on the next phase of your journey. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh.
You get divorced. You get divorced.
Getting divorced?
I'm getting a divorce.
You're getting a divorce.
Because she's getting a divorce.
So what if I get divorced?
Hey, it's Olivia. Welcome back to Divorce Happens. Today's letter comes from someone whose situation I think gets talked about far too rarely because it doesn't fit the story we usually tell about divorce. There's no betrayal here. There's no blowup. There's no villain. Just two people who loved each other, grew apart, and couldn't make it work. And somehow that's its own kind of hard. Here's what she wrote. Hey, Olivia, my soon-to-be ex and I are moving forward. But there's no hatred between us. We still care about each other, we share a child, and after a recent family emergency, I was reminded that we can still show up for each other. The truth is we grew apart. Needs went unmet, and at some point, we stopped being willing to do the work. Love alone wasn't enough. For anyone who's had an amicable divorce with love still there, how did you do it? How do you stay connected as co-parents and still create enough distance to heal? First, I want you to know something. This is actually one of the hardest versions of divorce there is. I mean that. When there's no slammed door, no clear betrayal, no obvious reason to be angry, the grief gets quieter and lonelier. The people around you may not fully understand why you're sad about leaving someone you don't hate. You may not even fully give yourself permission to grieve it because on paper it still looks like the good divorce. But ending a marriage that still has love inside of it isn't easier. In some ways, it asks more of you. You don't get the anger to propel you forward. You just have to feel it. Nothing is wrong with you for finding this so tender. Let me name what's actually happening in your nervous system right now, because I think it will help. You are grieving, co-parenting, and staying kind to someone you still care about, all at the same time. That is a lot of competing signals to hold. Part of you reaches for the closeness that still feels natural because that closeness is real and it has history. Another part of you knows that the same closeness is exactly what keeps the wound open. Both of these things are true simultaneously. You're not being inconsistent or weak. You're navigating something genuinely complicated, and the fact that you're doing it with this much thoughtfulness says a lot about who you are. Here's a reframe I want to offer you, one that a lot of people find genuinely helpful. You're not ending the relationship, you're changing its form. And I want to sit with that for a moment, because I think it's more than just a comforting thing to say. It's actually true, and it matters. The love doesn't have to disappear for a marriage to end. It just gets a new container. You're moving from partners to co-parents, from us to two people who will always be connected through your child. And that connection, when you tend to it carefully, can become something really beautiful over time. Not the marriage you had, something different. A relationship built around showing up well for someone you both love more than anything, your kiddo. Cheering together at a school play, sitting near each other at graduation someday, being the kind of parents your child can look at and think, they didn't make it as a couple, but they never stopped being a family. That is not a consolation prize, my love. That is an incredible thing to build. And the groundwork for it is exactly what you're laying right now. By choosing to move through this with care instead of cruelty, by asking those questions instead of just reacting. That shift takes real time, and it is allowed to be sad even when it's right, especially when it's right. Grief and rightness can absolutely coexist. You're allowed to mourn the form while you're building the new one. About the distance you actually need to heal. I want to be clear that distance doesn't mean coldness, it means structure. Healing rarely happens when you're still woven into someone's daily emotional life. So the goal isn't to care less about them, it's to care from a slightly different distance and to protect enough space for both of you to actually move forward. In practice, that might mean fewer just checking in texts, a little less access to each other's day-to-day, more breathing room around the parts of life that aren't about your child. Not to punish anyone, not because the care isn't real, but to let the wound close. Many amicable co parents find it helps to move toward what I'd like to call even a business warm communication, kind and respectful, but focused. Keeping logistics in one place, like a shared calendar or co parenting app, so that every single message doesn't become an emotional doorway. You can be loving and still hold a boundary. You can be a good team and still need separation. Those things aren't contradictions. And about that emergency, the one that reminded you that you can still show up for each other, yeah, hold on to that. That capacity is real, and it will serve your child for the rest of their life. But being excellent in a crisis doesn't mean the marriage should continue. You can be wonderful teammates and still not be partners. Both of those truths get to live in the same body at the same time. On the hard nights when the missing hits, and it will, try asking yourself this instead of did we make a mistake? What am I actually missing right now? Often the honest answer is the comfort, the history, the ease of being known, not the marriage itself. Naming that keeps you honest with yourself. You made this decision together with clear eyes because love alone just wasn't enough. Missing them doesn't undo that. It just means you're human. You're not doing this wrong because it hurts. Caring for someone while letting them go, while letting yourself go too, is some of the most mature, tender work a person can do. And you don't have to find the balance alone. Okay, that's it from me today. Just remember, you are so much further along than you think. I'll see you next time. Divorce Happens is produced by Fresh Starts Registry, the only divorce registry platform for everything you need to begin again, including home items, hype team, and everything in between. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh. We're here to support you before, during, and after divorce. Head to freshstartsregistry.com for more info.